Welcome back to Matt's Movie Nights, where I recommend movies and we talk about them. Last time I showed a triple feature of some very disgusting movies to kick off our third year of this. And if I'm starting with some wild, crazy, disgusting movies, there's no better person to start with than Mr. John Waters. Showed Multiple Maniacs, which is a film I like a lot more than Pink Flamingos. I like this better than most of his movies. I think I would probably put Hairspray above this, but Hairspray is like his normal movie. At least the most normal movie of his I've seen. I haven't seen some of his later movies, like the post-Divine era, so I couldn't really speak to them. But of his like early disgusting era films, his Pink Flamingos era films, Multiple Maniacs is definitely my favorite. It's the one that takes itself the least seriously. It's such a weird, silly, goofy movie. And like it has its gross moments as well as its gross moments. Moments that were trying to be gross in the 70s, but today don't really have the same they don't really have the same kick that they used to. And that's fine. I think it works in the movie for what it is. Like at the beginning, because Divine has this like traveling circus and it's sort of just a front to rob people. It's unclear whether or not she ever does this show genuinely or not. But she's using it as a front to rob people. But it's this like, ooh, the most shocking, disgusting show you'll ever see. See real live homosexuals kissing on the lips. And then there's like two dudes kissing on the lips. And it's like, okay, well, this was very inflammatory in the 70s. Not so much anymore. Which is a good thing. But it is funny to see it happen in this movie. I really enjoy it. So, Lady Divine, played by the actress Divine, is going around the country robbing people, killing people even. She's killed a few people. And her husband is so sick of her and sick of being with this company. I forgot the button. You can't forget the button. So her husband is like sick of going cross country with her. He's really starting to hate her. And there's this like new talent who shows up in auditions for Lady Divine, and Lady Divine doesn't like her, but her husband Cookie, maybe just Cook, I forget. No, her daughter's Cookie, I think. I'm not good with names. Anyways, her husband starts having an affair with this new talent who has auditioned for them. Which is fine because Divine has already put her mind to murdering him. She's like, nope, fuck him. He's dead. So he was kind of already dead, but then he just starts making it worse. You know, he's planning to kill Divine and make off with all the money they've stolen. Then he ends up in this fiasco with Divine's daughter and her boyfriend, and he ends up killing both of them, and it's like, oh, wow, Divine was already going to kill you, but now she's really gonna kill you. Like, she has every reason to kill you now. Yeah, so of course she does. She does kill him. That is, after she meets a lesbian at church and, decides that, she wants to be with that woman. So she's got a new hookup after she leaves her husband. So yeah, it's like she's got a new hookup. She already hates her husband, and now her husband has killed her daughter and her boyfriend. So it's like, yep, we're killing him. Fuck him. Every reason to murder this guy. Divine just goes fucking nuts at the end of this movie. Like, it's a little bit concerning. It feels so across the line. It's like, oof, this guy is maybe, not holding it together that well offset, and it's all coming out in this performance. I don't know, it's a very funny movie. A lot funnier, I think, than Pink Flamingos. Pink Flamingos was so heavy on the shock value, and this, I think, leans more to the comedic than Pink Flamingos. It also, it leads a lot more to the absurd as well. Like, Pink Flamingos, there's, weird things that happen in it, but, in this movie, Divine gets raped by a lobster. It's just a giant sentient lobster that comes in and rapes her for no reason. For no reason. This is after she has murdered everyone and is completely losing her mind. So there's an argument to be made that that's just a delusion of hers. She's just imagining a lobster raping her, because that after that point, it's the movie was never stable. There was no point where this movie was a sane movie, but after she kills everyone and goes insane, the movie gets exponentially weirder, which this feels like it shouldn't be possible, but they find a way. It's funny, I started off last year with Godzilla. This film was inspired by Godzilla. There's a scene near the end where Divine is lumbering down the street and people are running and screaming, and it's a whole Godzilla parody. The army comes in and shoots her down. John Waters said he wanted Divine to be the Godzilla of drag queens and have all the other drag queens running, screaming in fear from Divine. I'm reading John Waters' autobiography, Shock Value, right now. I think I said that last time we watched a John Waters movie, but this time I'm actually doing it. Last time I read a chapter and then quit. Now I'm halfway through it. I am actually reading it this time. It's a good book. It's very entertaining. John Waters is a very interesting figure. And I love that this has a Criterion release. Criterion just announced they're doing a release of Pink Flamingos, and of course I'm gonna have to get that, but I think it's so much better that Multiple Maniacs is in the Criterion collection, and it got in first! It got in before Pink Flamingos. Because this movie, it doesn't even have the reputation that Pink Flamingos has. Pink Flamingos is in the Criterion collection, okay, so is Sallow. They don't act like they've never done, an infamous movie before. But, Multiple Maniacs, it's not even infamous. It's I mean, this did not even get, a major theatrical release when it was made. John Waters showed this in, a church. That was the debut. God, I can't imagine showing this movie in a church. And then it played some theaters, I think, but maybe some theaters in New York and maybe even a few on the West Coast, but it did not play nationwide the way Pink Flamingos did. So it's fascinating to me that this made it into the collection before Pink Flamingos. But I think probably rightfully so. I think this is very much a Criterion movie. It's the dawn of a genre. The genre of John Waters movies. I think it holds an important place in film history. I think perhaps even more so than Pink Flamingos, even though Pink Flamingos is the one that got him the reputation. It's equally important, but we have to look back at this. This is where Pink Flamingos came from. I was describing the plot of Pink Flamingos to my partner recently, because I got on the topic that I was reading John Waters' biography, and they were asking about like his movies, and I was telling them about Pink Flamingos and how Divine is the filthiest woman on earth, and she goes to these other people's houses and has sex on their furniture. My partner's like, if she's the filthiest person alive, why would anyone want to have sex with her? And I said, well, actually, I think it was her son. And my partner was very disturbed by how casually I said that. Like, oh yeah, it's her son. That's who she was having sex with. It's like, I don't know, man. That's Pink Flamingos. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Anyways, Multiple Maniacs. It's a very entertaining movie. I recommend it. Like, this is like pure, unfiltered John Waters, right? Pink Flamingos, he had like a direction, he had a goal. He wanted to make the grossest movie ever. There is no goal to this movie. This is just whatever entered John Waters' mind. Multiple Maniacs, watch it. After that, we watched Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper. So, this is a giallo film, although it almost feels more in line with an American slasher movie than an Italian giallo. There's very little difference between the two. A giallo is basically an Italian slasher film, but there's like little things that differentiate a giallo from a slasher movie. For one thing, giallo tend to be like way more vibrant and colorful. They like to use a lot of weird camera stuff. They'll even do like trippy visuals sometimes. And this is not as trippy as a lot of other Italian horror films. Even Fulci's own films. This is one of the most straightforward films Fulci has made. There's also sometimes like a bit of a supernatural element to giallo. Not all the time, but they will include that more often than we will in the American slasher. So, you know, something like All the Colors of the Dark or Four Flies on Grey Velvet will have, like, you know, weird out there stuff. It's spookier, supernatural stuff. This is just a straightforward murder story, which, I mean, there are giallo that are just straightforward murder stories, but this one just feels more like a slasher than a lot of other giallo. That was my real point. It's paced like a slasher. It's sort of shot like a slasher, even. It fits more with, like, the American ideal of a slasher movie than most giallo do. But it does still have the giallo elements. It is still a mystery, for one thing. Sort of a strange mystery. I'm not sure the ending made that much sense, because there's this woman who's, like, she keeps almost getting murdered by the Ripper, and she barely makes it out alive, but then the twist is she is the Ripper, I think? I think that's the twist? But, I don't know. Fulci films are infamous for needing 2 watches to truly understand the plot. Even in this one that is far more straightforward than his other films, the ending is still kind of like, hold on, wait, back up, tell me that again. Although, unlike some of Fulci's other films, I feel less inclined to rewatch this one. I'm glad I saw it once, it was interesting for what it is, but I feel like this doesn't have the same appeal as some of his crazier films. I love how weird The Beyond gets, I love how strange so much of it is, and I love Zombie. It's just like a fun zombie movie. Like Zombie is very easy to understand. That's his, like, that's the Fulci film that, like, most people are gonna get right away. They're like, oh, it's a zombie movie. Right, go on. Like, there's nothing too strange about Zombie. Is this the first Fulci movie I've shown? I think this is the first Fulci movie I've shown. Wild. Wild that it took me this long to get to one. Although, it's a good point to start, I suppose. Not the first giallo I've shown, because I did show A Bay of Blood, which is probably my favorite giallo, although All the Colors of the Dark is up there. We're definitely going to get to that later this year. This says right on the box, the most controversial horror film ever made. If you see that on a box for a horror movie, it is almost certainly wrong. A lot of movies claim that, and very few of them actually are. Now, I have right here Cannibal Holocaust. This says the most controversial movie ever made. It's correct. Cannibal Holocaust is one of, if not the most controversial movie ever made. The New York Ripper didn't even make the Video Nasties list. Not only did it not make the main 72, it didn't even make the later 83. It was not a Section 2 or Section 3 Video Nasty. And it's not like they didn't know who Fulci was. 3 of his movies are in the 72. He is tied for the director with the most movies on the Video Nasties list. You'll see I have The Beyond and Zombie on my Video Nasties shelf right behind me. I am missing House by the Cemetery, I think. Yes, I'm missing House by the Cemetery. But that was also a Video Nasty, and also a Fulci film. So they looked at those 3 films and said these films are more controversial than The New York Ripper. I think probably where they're getting that from, though, is there was issue made in the British press by these, like, pro-video nasty people that, like, this film had scenes of women getting their breasts sliced open. So it's like, oh, nudity and violence. Haha, we're slicing women's nipples open. So that caused a stir. That's probably the controversy they're referring to. But as a whole, it hasn't attracted quite the same ire as a lot of Fulci's other films. Now, that's a pretty high bar, if I'm being honest. Fulci was a very controversial director. So, this is still absolutely a controversial film. Make no mistakes. This is a controversial film. It's just not Fulci's most controversial. Nor is it the most controversial horror movie of all time. Cannibal Holocaust, very good claim to that title. New York Ripper, not as much. That's much shakier ground. It is a controversial horror movie. It is not anywhere near the most controversial. It's a fun movie. It's got some kills that I enjoyed, but I don't know. Like I said, it feels so much like the conventional American slasher, and it's like, yeah, but there are better slasher movies than this. So, I mean, if you're into slashers, definitely worth watching. Definitely one of the more noteworthy slashers. But I don't think it's not the best slasher. It's not the best giallo. It's not the best Lucio Fulci film. It's just got all those things in common, and I think that makes it interesting. I am interested in all of these topics, but it's not the best. It's not the best at anything it does. It's just the one that does all of it. So, interesting, but not my favorite. Finally, we have Burial Ground, also titled Nights of Terror, also titled Burial Ground Nights of Terror. Also called, I think, 3 or 4 other things, but those were the main titles. Although, again, this is one... It's pretty common in Italian horror for movies to have multiple titles, and this is one that seems to have... Like, it doesn't even have one main title it's known by. It is equally as well known as Burial Ground and Nights of Terror. Those are both equally popular titles for this film. But we'll call it Burial Ground because that's what the Blu-ray disc calls it. Burial Ground is the story of some people who show up at a house and there are zombies there. That's it. That's the movie. There are zombies. So, maybe not the most original thing, maybe not the most well-written thing, but I'll tell you this much. This is weird Italian horror, you know? You want that weird stuff? Burial Ground is weird Italian horror. Not quite trippy Italian horror. I think something like All the Colors of the Dark is a lot more purposeful in its trippiness, or Suspiria. Suspiria is another real trippy one. This is just kind of weird. It's not trippy as much as it is just weird. This is also a pretty controversial movie. It's incredibly gory, for one thing, and also it's just like a weird low budget oddity, and I think that attracts people to it, especially because it has so much gore. Now, when I watch foreign films, I do like I prefer subs to dubs, if you will. I like to listen to it in its original language. Although, however, with Italian horror, and honestly most Italian movies from like the 60s through the 80s, I am absolutely okay watching the English translation because that's kind of how it was intended to be seen. Like they made it as much for American audiences as they did Italian audiences. They have that whole like Tower of Babel filming style where like everyone speaks their native language and they're just dubbed later by someone else for every region. So I feel like these films are made for the English dub, right? It's not like I'm getting the authentic thing if I'm listening to the Italian version either. These are equally authentic versions of the film. But in this film, man, there's a kid. He's supposed to be like this really young kid, I think. I think he's supposed to be like, I don't know, early teens. But he has like a 5 o'clock shadow. The actor was in like his early 20s. He looks like a kid with 5 o'clock shadow. Honestly, he kind of looks like the little person from Twin Peaks. That's who he reminds me of. That's who he looks like in the face. I mean, he kind of has that same face as that guy. And he's dubbed by what is clearly an adult man trying to do a child's voice. And it doesn't work. You're like, this is not a child. Every part of this is not a child. Why are you pretending this is a child? He gets a very odd scene near the end. Like his mother is like spoilers. His mother is so distraught by his death that when she sees him as a zombie, she like loses her mind and tries to breastfeed him, and then he bites her tits off. So that's how we're starting this year. More tit slicing. We're really mutilating tits today. Jeepers. The zombies in this film are very odd when they die. It's like okay, so like I've said before, I don't like realistic gore. I like blood bags. I like when people get shot and just blood goes everywhere and we never see anything else. It's just blood. These zombies kind of fall in line with that. It's like they're plaster of Paris filled with bugs and meat, right? Like there's so many shots in this movie of the humans bashing these zombie skulls in, because that is apparently the only way to kill them. So they will bash a zombie's skull in, and it's like plaster of Paris full of like larvae and meat. It's grotesque, but not like it's not gore, right? It's not realistic gore. It's like just kind of gross, just kind of disturbing. I like it. It's a cool aesthetic. um, I think this movie is worth watching just for its very unique take on zombies. I admit it's not a very good movie, but it is a thoroughly entertaining one. A lot of interesting parts to it. I'm sure objectively you could convince me like The New York Ripper is a better movie than this. It probably is, but I found Burial Ground much more entertaining because it was just weirder. It was more original, more unique. Like New York Ripper, it felt like stuff I had seen before. This is its own thing, you know. Obviously, it's pulling from like, I mean, you could look at this poster here and tell me you're not getting like some Dawn of the Dead vibes from this. You know, the big head with like the horizon at sunrise. There's some Dawn of the Dead to this. There were a lot of popular zombie movies around this time. I think Lucio Fulci's Zombie was probably an inspiration on this as well. Um, like the zombies kind of look like the zombies from Zombie, but it does its own unique things with it. I mean, it does its own unique things with what the zombies are like. Not really with the story. There isn't really a story. It's just kind of zombies, which I do think differentiates it from like good zombie movies. Like the Night of the Living Dead trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Those movies have stories. There's more to them than just zombies. This movie is all zombies. Like it's zombies all the way down on this one. There's no plot. It's just avoiding zombies, which can be fun. If you find a unique way to do it, it can be fun, but it'll never be as good as something like Night of the Living Dead, which has like a story and themes and ideas. You know, Night of the Living Dead is a smart movie. This is just entertainment. But I enjoy a little entertainment, and I enjoy Burial Ground Nights of Terror, so I do give it a recommendation. Tagline here, got a tagline here, and on the slipcover, "The gates of hell have opened," which is very reminiscent of some Lucio Fulci movies, you know, like Gates of Hell. And it's also reminiscent of the line in Dawn of the Dead. This whole movie, honestly, like the ending of this movie, is very reminiscent of the line in Dawn of the Dead where the guy's like, "Oh, when there's no more room in hell, the dead shall walk the earth." And this just takes that one line. It's a good line, and they never elaborate on it. They never confirm if that's true or not. This film kind of takes that line and just is like, okay, this is the explanation for the zombies. We are 100% committed to that explanation. It takes that explanation and runs with it. I think it works better when it's just sort of a one-off line and you don't really know why the zombies are here, but I don't know. That's an interesting take on it, I guess. Burial Ground. You want a fun, violent Italian horror movie? I recommend it. So, last time I asked you a bit of a practical question. It was like, what are some really fucked up foreign films you would like to see me talk about? Because, I want to do more fucked up foreign films this year, so I guess I don't really have an answer for this because I'm already in charge of picking movies. I don't really... Like, my answer is just the movies I'm going to show this year. So, yeah, I have some answers to that, but that's the point of the show. John Cleveland dropped a couple here. Movies to bump your number count as fucked up and or foreign. Hausu from 1977. John, I already talked about House. It was one of the very first episodes. Fake fans. Adam Chaplin, which I believe he's recommended before. Definitely noted. Noted. There's a pin in that one. Ricky O, The Story of Ricky. I love Ricky O, The Story of Ricky. The problem is getting a reliable copy of it. Sometimes it's up on Tubi. It might be up on Tubi. If it's on Tubi, I probably will do Ricky O, because I love that movie so goddamn much. Versus from 2000. Okay. Tokyo Gore Police. Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. Martyrs from 2008. That's a French film. I love Martyrs. It is not a fun movie. Right? Like, I feel like I come on here every week and at least once I have to mention how fun the movie was. Martyrs is not fun, but it is fucked up, and it is a really good film. I really like Martyrs. If you can get your hands on it. That's another one it's so hard to get your hands on the original French version of Martyrs. I have heard the American remake is bad. I've never seen it. I love the French version, though, and it's really hard to get a hold of. Primotus, The Lord of the Living Dead from 1997. That sounds very interesting. That is quite a title. And Undead, 2003. Okay. Noted. Noted. John August stepped in with the job title you're describing as air traffic controller. Thanks, John. That was what I was describing. He also says the 1988 Hong Kong film Men Behind the Sun. It's an exploitation film that doubles as educational. Okay, I have heard a lot of mixed things about Men Behind the Sun. My understanding is it's sort of about people being tortured in Japan during World War II. Something to that effect. It's a lot of torture. There's a lot of torture in that film. So, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about that for movie night, because it sounds like it's getting a little close to something like the guinea pig movies, and the guinea pig movies are not fun. I do not enjoy the guinea pig movies. Maybe we'll see about Men Behind the Sun. I think I'll watch it on my own, and then if I think it's good for the show, I'll be like, okay, we'll show this. But I might watch it and go, well, nope, I'm not showing this. I don't ever want to watch this movie again. So who knows? We'll see how my viewing of it goes. So tonight I want to hear your favorite foreign takes on American monsters. Like, because sometimes you'll watch like a Chinese or Japanese supernatural movie and it'll be like something from their mythology, but then sometimes they'll try doing like the American vampire, the American Frankenstein, the Mummy, even like King Kong. I would count that as like an American monster that there are a lot of foreign takes on. Tonight we've got three movies from the Asian continent, but not really mainland Asia. Although actually our first movie is from America. It's written in Persian, but it's American. It's an American foreign language film. It's A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. A very enjoyable vampire film. After that, we're watching a Jordan Qatar Jordan Qatar co-production, Under the Shadow. It's a pretty recent movie, actually. This one is too. They're both pretty recent movies. And to end the night, a film from the Philippines. You may remember, not too long ago, I showed a film titled Satan's Slaves, and I mentioned there was another Satan's Slave from around the same time. Yep, it's Satan's Slave, the Philippine version. Not to be confused with the British film of the same title. Anyways, that's all next time on Matt's Movie Nights. Until then, have a nice day.